What if I told you that you could turn your everyday food scraps into some of the most powerful garden fertilizer on the planet? And what if you could do it without any weird smells, without any mess, and without even needing a backyard? Well, today, that's exactly what we're going to do. I'm building a complete DIY worm farm, also known as a vermicomposting system, that is perfect for apartments, balconies, and even tiny homes. By the end of this video, you will know exactly how to build one from scratch, how to maintain it so it runs perfectly, and how to harvest that beautiful, dark, crumbly black gold compost completely for free. I'm excited, so let's get started. So, why even bother with a worm farm? First off, you're making a real impact on the environment. Every scrap you divert from the trash is one less thing going to a landfill. This directly reduces methane emissions, a potent greenhouse gas. But the real magic is what you get in return. Worms transform your kitchen waste into an incredibly nutrient-dense fertilizer that your plants will absolutely love. It's packed with beneficial microbes that improve soil health and help plants thrive. Plus, I have to admit, there's something oddly satisfying about watching this little ecosystem at work. It's a fascinating, hands-on way to connect with the natural cycle of decomposition and growth right in your own home. All right, let's talk about what you'll need to build your own worm farm. The shopping list is actually pretty simple. You'll need 2 stackable bins that fit snugly one inside the other, and at least one lid. We'll also need a drill for making some holes. For the worm bedding, grab some shredded paper or cardboard and a block of coconut coir. Of course, the stars of the show are the composting worms themselves, usually a species called red wigglers. And finally, you'll want a water spray bottle and, of course, your kitchen food scraps. Don't worry about hunting all this stuff down. I've put links to everything I am using down in the description below to make it super easy for you. Now, let's talk about the most important part, the worms. This is crucial. You can't just go out and dig up worms from your garden. Regular earthworms are fantastic for your soil, but they won't survive in a shallow bin system like this. They need to burrow deep and aren't suited for processing large amounts of kitchen scraps. What you need are specific composting worms. The most popular and easiest to find are red wigglers. Their scientific name is Eisenia fetida. Another great option is European nightcrawlers. These types of worms they thrive in the top layers of organic material, and they are voracious eaters, which means they'll process your food scraps quickly and efficiently. You can usually order them online from reputable suppliers, and they'll arrive right at your doorstep, ready to get to work. Trust me, getting the right worms is the key to a successful bin. Okay, it's time to build this thing. Grab your 2 bins and your drill. We'll start with what will be our top bin. First, we need to create some ventilation. I'm drilling a series of small holes, maybe about 1/4 inch in diameter, along the upper sides of the bin. I'll do this on all 4 sides. This allows for good airflow, which is essential for keeping the bin aerobic and odor-free. I'll also drill a few of these same-sized holes in the lid. Next, and this is very important, we need to drill drainage holes in the bottom of this same top bin. These should be a bit smaller, maybe 1/8 of an inch, and you want to space them out evenly across the entire bottom surface. This allows excess moisture, which we call leachate or worm tea, to drip down into the bottom bin. Now, take your second bin, the bottom one. You don't need to drill any holes in this one at all. Its job is simply to collect that liquid, to make sure there's a gap between the 2 bins for the liquid to collect. I'm just going to place a brick inside this bottom container. You could also use a couple of sturdy plastic containers, or anything that will elevate the top bin 1 inch or 2. Now, just stack the top bin with all the holes on top of the bottom bin. And there you have it. The basic structure is complete. That liquid that collects in the bottom, by the way, is a fantastic liquid fertilizer. You can dilute it with water, about 1 part tea to 10 parts water, and use it to water your plants. With our bin built, it's time to create a cozy home for our new worm friends. This is the bedding. We want to fill our top bin about halfway full. I'm starting with a big pile of shredded paper and cardboard. Avoid glossy paper or colored inks if you can. Plain cardboard and newspaper are perfect. Next, I'm adding my block of coconut coir, which I've already rehydrated with water. Now, we need to get the moisture level just right. This is probably the most common mistake beginners make. You want the bedding to be damp, but not soaking wet. The ideal consistency is like a wrung-out sponge. If you squeeze a handful, only a drop or 2 of water should come out. If it's too dry, the worms can't breathe through their skin. If it's too wet, the bin can go anaerobic and start to smell. So, I'll use my spray bottle to add a little more water and mix it all together until it feels perfect. Once the bedding is ready, it's time to introduce the worms. Don't just dump them on top. Give them a few minutes, and you'll see them start to burrow down and get comfortable. Finally, we'll add their first meal. I am just going to bury a small handful of food scraps under a thin layer of the bedding. And that's it. Their new home is ready to go. So, what should you be feeding your worms? Think of it like a vegan diet. They love fruit peels, like banana and apple cores, all kinds of vegetable scraps, coffee grounds and filters, and crushed eggshells, which help add grit and balance the pH. There are a few things you should definitely avoid, especially when your bin is new. Steer clear of meat, fish, and bones, as well as dairy products like cheese and yogurt. These can attract pests and create really foul odors as they decompose. You should also avoid oily or greasy foods and, at least in the beginning, limit acidic foods like citrus peels and onions, as they can bother the worms. The most important rule of feeding is to always bury the food, never just leave it on top. Pull back a section of the bedding, drop the food in, and then cover it back up completely. This simple step prevents fruit flies from finding the food and ensures the bin stays odor-free. A good rule of thumb is to start small and see how quickly your worms process the food before adding more. One of the biggest concerns people have is about smell. Will my apartment smell like a compost pile? The answer is a definite no, as long as you manage it correctly. A healthy, balanced worm bin shouldn't smell bad at all. In fact, it should have a pleasant, earthy scent like rich forest soil after it rains. If your bin does start to smell sour, funky, or rotten, it's a clear sign that something is out of balance. The number one cause of bad smells is overfeeding. If you add more food than the worms can process, it will start to rot anaerobically. The fix is simple. Stop feeding them for a week or two. At the same time, gently fluff up the bedding to introduce more air and mix in some dry, shredded paper or cardboard to absorb the excess moisture. This will usually solve the problem within a few days. So remember, if it smells, you're probably just being a little too generous with the food. After about 2 to 3 months of feeding your worms, you'll notice a magical transformation. The bedding and food scraps will have turned into a dark, crumbly, and beautiful material. This is the finished vermicompost, often called black gold. So, how do you get it out without taking all the worms with it? The easiest method is called migration harvesting. You simply push all of the finished compost over to one side of the bin. On the empty side, you'll add fresh, moist bedding and start burying your new food scraps only in that new section. Over the next couple of weeks, the worms will naturally migrate from the finished compost, where there's no more food, over to the fresh side, where the party is. Once you see that most of the worms have moved over, you can simply scoop out the finished compost from the old side. It's now ready to be used to top dress your houseplants, mix into your potting soil, or enrich your garden beds. And that's how you build a simple, effective worm farm for any small space. It's an amazing way to reduce waste and create incredible fertilizer for your plants. If you found this video helpful, I'd really appreciate it if you could hit that like button and subscribe for more projects like this.